We all want our Google ads to be as impressive as possible to stand out from the competition on the results pages. One of the ways we can do that is through using ad extensions, usually site links, callouts, all that good stuff. One of the ones I get asked about quite a bit are Google seller ratings, and these are a little bit different for a couple of reasons. First off, they're not exclusive to PPC. They can show up on organic listings as well, and more likely than not, you've probably seen them when you've been doing your own Google searches. The second piece is that they are an automated extension. So we as advertisers can't go into the ad account and create a listing for Google seller ratings. Instead, we need to make sure that the businesses that we work with or our businesses are set up so that Google will automatically apply those seller ratings to our ads when they show up on the results pages. So today what I want to go through are the requirements of how to make sure you're eligible for seller ratings, and then some of the ways to check and make sure that they're actually showing up on your ads. Let's jump in. So I just conducted an easy women's tennis shoes e-commerce search basically, and I got 3 ads showed up, and the seller ratings portion are these cute little stars that we've got here that show up underneath each of the listings. In this instance, none of these listings are kind of standing out from each other necessarily because they all have them. But if you were the listing on here that didn't have them, your ad would kind of stand out for not as good of a reason. So what we want to do is make sure that we understand how we can get these to trigger on our ads. The first piece is basically, where do these ratings come from? If it's not something that we can link within our Google Ads accounts, where does Google get this information? And a lot of it has to do with just different review platforms that are out there. You can use Google customer reviews, Google consumer surveys. There are shopping reviews that are on your own store domain that Google will pull from, as well as some aggregated performance metrics that Google will get from other shopping research points out there. So Google's looking a lot of places to find this information because it's in their best interest to give the searcher as much information as possible. So they're going to try and seek it out in a number of different ways. There are also third-party sources. Likely you've heard of different review platforms that are out there like Trustpilot or Yotpo or Reviews.io. Any of these are different platforms that companies can utilize to gather and share the reviews around their business and how their customers feel about them. And Google has developed partnerships with all of the businesses that you see listed here. There are 30 of them that will basically pull in the information from your business's Trustpilot page, for example, to start to utilize that to aggregate into Google seller ratings. So now the question is, when do they show up? Where are you actually going to see these happen? So Google seller ratings can be shown on your search network campaigns, but there are a few pieces of criteria that you need to make sure that you're hitting. To make sure that you're still an active business effectively, Google wants to make sure that you have 100 unique reviews within the last 12 months, either from Google customer reviews or from the third-party platforms within the country that you are trying to advertise them for. So in the United States, for Google seller ratings to show up, you would need to have 100 unique reviews within the past calendar year. You also need to make sure that you have a 3.5 or higher rating on these different platforms. It's kind of a good thing that Google doesn't really show your seller ratings if you only have like 0.5 stars or something like that. But it is something to keep in mind that if your seller ratings are a little bit lower, especially compared to your competition, this might be something that you want to maybe think about having them show up or not. And we'll talk about that here in a minute. You also need to make sure that the visible URL domain for your ads is the same as the business for your seller ratings. This is how Google ties you together, is through the URL domain. So if you're selling on a different domain than what you have your seller ratings for, these likely won't match up. So that's something to keep in mind. If you're curious if you will have seller ratings or if you're eligible to have them show up, Google does actually have a website where you can check that. So here's the URL for what that would be. And then at the end of it, there's a dynamic query for your website. To make it look a little bit easier, I reformatted it so you can see that basically everything in that hot pink example.com is the format that you need to show. In the earlier example, I showed Nordstrom Rack. So let's see what their page looks like. When you type in Nordstrom Rack into that query, it brings you to a page that looks like this. You can see that they have 4.5 stars, 87% is positive, and then it gives some other information about shipping and delivery and that sort of thing. If your business does not have Google seller ratings or isn't eligible for them, or Google just doesn't see enough volume coming through, the page will effectively be blank when you go to this website. For a business that is using a third-party provider, the page will look a little bit more like this. You'll see the website at the top, you'll see the reviews, and there will be a review summary in a lot of the ways that the actual platform itself, the third-party provider, will show it. You can then see on the side here that this is a company that uses Trustpilot for their reviews, and they have just shy of 300 reviews. 98% of them are or 5 stars, so that's pretty strong. But this is what it will look like if somebody's using a third-party solution for their reviews platform, and maybe not some large e-commerce company like Nordstrom Rack that likely has their own or more integrated data within the Google platform itself. Even though Google seller ratings are not something that advertisers can impact directly from the ad account, we actually can see some performance data for it. So in the Google Ads interface, if you hop over to the Ads and Extensions tab, at the top you can navigate between Ads, Extensions, and then there is an Automated Extensions tab. So let's go there. Within the Automated Extensions tab, you can see which automated extensions are showing up for your business and what the performance of those automated extensions is within the most recent date range or whatever date range you've chosen. So in this account, we have seller ratings show up. There's no social extensions or any of the other pieces showing up, but you can start to see how these are performing compared to your other ad extensions within your account. By default, every Google Ads account is opted into automated extensions when Google can make a connection between your account and that automated extension type, in this instance, seller ratings. If you have a seller ratings result and Google can tie it to your Google Ads account, it will link together and your seller ratings will show on your listing. You can, however, turn off automated extensions if you notice that performance doesn't look very good for those, or if for whatever reason you just don't want them to show up. In the automated extensions tab, you need to go over here to these 3 little dots where it says More Options, Advanced Options, and then it'll give you an option to turn off automated extensions. So click that button, and then you can actually choose which type of automated extension you want to turn off by clicking this drop down. Let's say you want to turn off seller ratings, so you would click that. You can then select a reason as to why you're turning it off from the drop down here. You can either say you're concerned about performance, compliance considerations, anything that you've got in here. If you then want to add an additional comment, they do give you 130 characters to give any sort of additional feedback that you want to on why you are turning off a certain automated extension. So if you're interested in Google seller ratings, hopefully now you have a better understanding of what it takes to get them, how you can check if you qualify, and if you have them, how they're performing in your ad account versus the other automated extensions or against your regular manual extensions that you set up. Thanks for watching our video.
Make sure to subscribe to the Paid Media Pros channel to see more videos.